Hey friends, I'm here with you today for a wonderful interview with my friend Kelli, who is a Locums provider. She's been in an NP for a gazillion years, and she's got lots of great wisdom to share with you about why she chose the specialty that she did. She's done a lot of them, how she ended up where she's at, and how she's loving the PRN lifestyle. If we haven't met yet, my name is Bree. I'm a nurse practitioner. I make content for nurses, NPs, and students, and I'm now a mentor. So check out my website should you be interested in those services. Nice to meet you. Okay, so Kelli, how long have you been an NP for?
So I graduated in 2008 from Emory University. So what is that, 15 years? Long time ago, it feels like.
What made you decide to go back to school?
I think, like a lot of people, I was a critical care RN for 5 years, and I knew I wanted to do something more. Initially, I thought I'd go to nurse anesthetist school, but they only take a few students each year, and I was just ready to get away from the bedside at the time. You know,
how long had you worked as a nurse?
5 years. I graduated.
Oh, so you did it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I graduated from UNG in 2003 with my associate's degree. So then, yeah, I did do it pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I knew I wanted something more, something different.
And you initially did FNP?
Nope, I was one of the first ones.
Oh, interesting.
I was one of the first nurses, I think some of them will tell you, that found Emory University's nurse practitioner program. And at that time, I think they had acute care, ER, pediatric, and gerontology at that time, I think, were their specialties. They might have had a few more then. But they were one of the universities, graduate schools, that were putting you on that track to what specialty you want to work. And I like critical care, and so I knew I wanted to do acute care.
Okay. And so what was your first job out of school? So
the first job was with cardiology group. And I worked with them I do everything for about 3 years.
That's what you as a nurse. It was like 2 years, and like your time is limited here. It's what's next?
Everything's 3 years. So I did cardiology for 3 years. Then I went to general surgery for 2.5, almost 3 years. Then I went to an urgent care for 3 years. 3 years.
It's time, Kelli. How long have you been doing your current thing? You got a little bit.
I did critical care for 4 years. There you go. That's good stuff. And then there were some changes there. And then I did like 5 minutes in interventional radiology. And then after that, I went locums as an acute care nurse practitioner.
Yeah. So you've done a little bit of everything. I think that's so fascinating. That's exactly how I was as a nurse. Like once I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm comfortable here. I know what I'm doing. What's next? Yeah. What's next? What's next? Just because I needed that constant challenge, you know?
I think the more skills you have, the more experience you can bring, the more valuable you are.
Oh, absolutely.
When you pigeonhole yourself, I know a lot of older nurses who were always only a NICU nurse.
Right.
Or they maybe were only ever a labor and delivery nurse. And if you can just branch out every now and then and just try something different, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a nurse practitioner, whatever, I think it only gives you more opportunities down the line.
I think, so the thing that holds me back, and I think holds a lot of people back as a provider, is that there are not as many jobs available, you know?
Yeah.
If you leave this job, would it be there for you should you change your mind and want to come back? I think that is what holds a lot of NPs back from doing various things like that.
It just depends on your personal lifestyle. You know, everybody's different. Some people are single, some people are married, some people have a lot of family responsibilities, some may not have any family responsibilities. So when you're switching those jobs and when you're switching jobs, you have to take your family into consideration.
Right.
And being locums, there is some insecurity to it.
Sure.
I have not experienced that as of yet. But yeah, I think always in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, are there going to be shifts? Are there going to be needs? And what I've learned is there's always needs. There's always shifts. Groups are constantly changing. Hospitals are constantly changing.
Do you ever do you ever worry if you leave an NP job that there won't be something else out there?
I think you always have to know your skill set and your worth and just believe that There will always be something there. It may not be ideal. It may not be your perfect scenario, but there will always be a position for you to provide for yourself or your family or whatnot. I never really worry about that, especially in this market, especially with travel nurses, and being a nurse practitioner. I was this close at times just to going back to the bedside.
I know you and I talked about it, but man, then you nurses are making way more than we are.
I can tell you from all my locums experience and talking, because you talk to the nurses, and a lot of them nowadays are travelers, just given the current market and situation, and you talk to them and you're like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's kind of sucks.
I think I could do this.
So,
but it just depends on what you want to do, what you're comfortable with.
How much experience do you need as an NP before you think it is wise for people to try?
Friends, sorry, I wanted to take a moment away from your video and talk to you about some of the challenges that I faced when I was transitioning to becoming a nurse practitioner. Everything from deciding whether or not I could go back to school, to where I should go to school, to what I should specialize in, really struggled with that phase of life. There were no professional mentors to help guide me. I also struggled with my onboarding. I started with a very busy practice. I was expected to roll with the punches despite my orientation phase. I really struggled with it, and I stayed late every day for 4 months just trying to get my notes done. This changed once I recognized the power of using dot phrases and automating my work. What I recognized with having NP students for the past 5 years is that everybody struggles with these things. It's not unique to me. Everyone has these same challenges. So after multiple requests from my students, from people who've reached out to me via DM on social media, there's a need for this service. So I created a business. I have a website. I would love it if you would go check it out and see what services I have that could help you in your unique set of problems, anywhere from college choice, resume reviews, one-on-one consultation services. I'd love it if you'd look into my book. And oh my gosh, for those of y'all who bought my book, I cannot tell you how honored I am that you are choosing to spend your money on my words. It means the world to me. But this is the book I wanted when I was new and when I was a student. It's the Ultimate H&P Cheat Sheet, a copy of the 12 most common ICU problems with plans and templates. So it's like a copy that you can put in your EMR and your dot phrase, as well as a behind the scenes on what I teach my students. So a little bit of how we make the diagnosis and what the pertinents are. So I think it's gonna be very, very helpful. There's an e-version that's very affordable, and there's this hard copy that I will be happy to send to you. I also have noticed as an NP in a competitive market, in a program that interviews people a lot, when we have an open position, we can interview anywhere from 5 to 10 people, y'all. And apples to apples with the same level of experience and not knowing you, if you're coming in and you are unknown to us, the person who interviews the best is gonna get the job, period. Because people hire for personality, believe it. And the way you let your personality shine is by preparing and practicing your interview skills. What better way to do that than with a person who does this all the time in the profession that you're looking to join? So when you sign up for a mock interview with me, I am going to hand tailor a set of questions uniquely designed to target your weaknesses within the field that you're looking to go into. So we're going to do 30 to 45 minutes of questions followed by 15 to 30 minutes of review so that you can hone your skills, continue to practice, and when you go in for your interview, you can feel confident and let your personality shine. And this, friends, is what's going to get you job offers. So if you've been going to interviews and not getting offers, this is likely the reason. This has the power to reap massive rewards. So again, let me just take a minute and say I appreciate you. I thank you so much for watching my videos and engaging in my content. And if you want to take the next step and check out my website, I would be ever so appreciative. Thank you all so much, and good luck on your career journey.
Again, it depends on your specialty. I think acute care, we have a lot of vast expertise in a bunch of medical diagnoses and treatments. For me, I would not have been ready 3 years, 5 years, not even 8 years out of the gates.
Really?
But I have all that experience, and so now, at 15 years, I feel comfortable going into different environments. Treating patients is always just treating patients. You're going to do the right thing for the patient no matter what department you're in. That doesn't change necessarily. It's the administrative part, the computer part, the knowing who to contact part. That's what's frustrating.
The behind the scenes, the workflow stuff that actually ends up taking up most of your day.
Exactly. As long as you can be humble and just say, no, this is my second day here. Could you help me or could you assist me? And
I agree. I mean, I haven't done it as an NP, but I have as a nurse traveled, and I found that to be true as well. If you make friends with the people you work with, they will love you. You will ingratiate yourself to them, and they will ask for you by name. You're like, yep, I will be there. I sure will.
Yep. But you also learn really how small the medical community is. How many people I run into on a regular
that you
basis.
knew from somewhere else.
Yes. Yeah. It's not as big as you think it is. And that's something to keep in mind always, is you never know when you're going to run back in.
Yeah, don't burn bridges.
Don't burn bridges. You never know when this resident, this PY1 is going to be your boss.
Right.
And it might be 5 years down the road. It might be 10 years down the road. Who knows? But you never know, again, when you're going to go interview for that next job, who your supervising physician is going to be. So I just always I like that. That's good advice.
Be friends with everyone.
Everybody. Know everybody, where they live, couple key facts about them. Always remember.
Yeah, that's good advice. That is very, very good advice. So what has been your favorite job outside of the locums thing? Well, actually including locums. What has been your favorite role that you've worked in?
I really liked a little bit about everything. I mean, I can tell you there are good things and bad things about every job, you know. I've worked, and a lot of times for me it's lifestyle, you know, having 3 kids. What I did when I was single before I was married and had kids was general surgery, and I would put in 55, 60 hours a week. God. And that was fine for the lifestyle I had. I was single, no kids. I could put in the time and be committed to that. So I really enjoyed general surgery. I was not very good at a first assist, which is one thing as a nurse practitioner in the programs, which I understand is changing from what I hear from some of my colleagues.
So are you a first assist?
So I went to a first assist program and a suturing course.
Okay.
And so it was, I think, and I may be wrong, people watching this, I think I was one of the first nurse practitioners in the OR at the hospital. A lot of times they just use physician's assistants.
Yeah, PAs are usually preferred in the OR.
Because they get that training and, you know, they have to do a rotation with some kind of surgery specialty.
Right.
Which, again, I understand from some of my colleagues. One of my friends, Brandon, teaches at Mercer, and he's saying they're starting to incorporate an OR surgical rotation into the nurse practitioner program.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I think would be very valuable. I knew nothing except being a bedside nurse about sterile technique, and sterile technique at the bedside is completely different than sterile technique in the OR. It's not the same thing. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed urgent care. You know, it was set hours. The door's open, the door's closed, very minimal follow-up. You treat the patients, you move on.
You did variable schedules when you did that too, right? Didn't you do different types of hours?
So I've worked for 10 days, I've worked nights, I've worked weekends, I've worked 12s, I've worked 10s, I've worked 5 days a week. I've done it all. I can tell you the pros and cons of all the schedules.
Okay, so I am an Emory grad as well. You went long before I did. But, you know, there's a lot of talk in the community about what schools nurse practitioners should go to because they are not created equal. What are your thoughts about Emory's program?
So for me in 2008, we went in person. I went 3 days a week down to the campus. You went to skills lab. You know, I commuted back and forth. At that time as a nurse, I would work Friday, Saturday night. I'd sleep a little bit on Sunday, get up and study. I think I had classes like Monday, Wednesday, and then I would do my preceptorship or my clinical rotations like on Thursdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But we were very much in person. Attendance was required. So I kind of missed that program. I think there's value to that program.
Yeah, I think I was one of the last cohort that went through Emory that had a full-time in-person. It was 5 days a week, 8 hours a day program, which I really wanted. And they told us then that they were going to a hybrid program. And I thought, oh my gosh, one of the benefits of your program is that it is in person. But I think a lot of it depends on your learning style. And I don't learn well when I'm required to do it on my own.
Not going to happen.
So for me, that was a challenge. No. But I think that this generation of people going through, particularly working in this environment where everything's on isolation and in their own home, they were used to doing a lot of self-learning at home. But I still recommend people that like that pressure and the community and the ability to, you know, interact face-to-face with teachers to look for more hybrid programs that offer more time in the classroom.
Absolutely. And it's not only that, but you have to remember, this is your early stages of networking.
True.
This is where you are meeting people who are coming from all over the state. You're not just meeting the people that are at your hospital or your town or whatever. They're coming from everywhere. And this is your early networking. These are people that might have connections at other hospitals for jobs that you may want down the line, or people you can connect with. And you know, we can say this for life, you know, yeah, it's great that we can Zoom call and, you know, FaceTime and all of that, but there is a personal connection of being face to face in a classroom and making, again, going back to being a locums, you have to know how to interact with a variety of different people and in person. And I feel like we're losing that skill, not only
in society, just in life in general.
Not only personally, but also professionally.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able, and those are your early days of contacts and connections professionally.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I feel like, I don't know how it was when you were there, but there were so many guest lectures. There were so many physicians and NPs and PAs that came in to do it. And there's very much, you're right, as you say, like if you show that you're engaged and they see that you're engaged and you have smart questions and very interested in what they do, that it's very easy and natural to walk up to them after the lecture and say, hey, are you taking students this semester? And then they'll remember you when it comes time to hire.
I think that's one of the downfalls of these hybrid programs. Emory was very helpful about finding preceptorships or clinical rotations. I feel like I have a lot of students I've never met, and they reach out to me via email, and I don't have a personal connection with them, and so I kind of send them down the line. Well, let me get you in touch with so and so or whatever. But I feel like these hybrid programs are kind of leaving these students high and dry, and they're picking rotations that may be comfortable and not necessarily challenging.
That's very true.
Like I remember taking a clinical rotation at Emory's neuro unit. I'd never worked at Emory. I've never been in a teaching hospital. No clue what I was doing. That was an amazing experience, and I really got to see what an APP does in that role. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to school for. Okay, cool.
And I think too, your program directors know how to challenge people in areas in which they're not very comfortable. Because I did that same rotation. I was like, I really don't want to do neuro. I know for a fact I do not want to work in a neurocritical care unit. And she said, you really have to do a rotation with this group. They're going to teach you how to read an MRI. They're going to teach you how to treat a subarachnoid patient. I was like, I don't want to do it. But you're right. It pushes you. It pushes you to do things that you wouldn't.
If you just pick clinical rotations that are in the current hospital you're working at, and it's comfortable and it's convenient, you're not really challenging yourself to go out of that box. And if you're not challenging yourself, you're not going to grow.
Right. And I also think on that topic, doing a rotation in a teaching facility is like this, and doing a rotation in a non-teaching facility is like this. Completely different experiences, you know, because I have students that come through with me, and I feel like I'm a little bit, I have high demands on my students about what I want them to do. And so many of them are kind of surprised when they want me to when I ask them to present on rounds. That's the way I was trained. That's not the standard where I work now, but that's how you learn. You have to put yourself out there, and it's going to be very uncomfortable. You may go home crying, but that's how you grow. That's how you learn, right? I mean, because I remember being pimped out hard when I was at Emory. I mean, and there was a crowd of 20 people watching. Nurses just waiting to raise their hand to prove how they were right, and you answered the question wrong.
Yes, perfect. Love those days. That was a good time.
Hazing at its finest.
Best.
How long after you started I guess since you've had so many jobs, how long after you start each of your jobs until you feel like you're comfortable or competent in that role?
Yeah, so every place is different. I think it just is dependent on your onboarding. And cardiology, they had me start, that was my first job. And so of course I was waiting for my nurse practitioner license to be posted and go through. They allowed me to go ahead and start working the job. And shadowing and following them around and learning that. So I had a pretty lengthy onboarding because I could not be on my own until my license had posted, obviously. And so that was really nice. With general surgery, as far as working in the office and patients, you know, there was some of an onboarding experience. I think I followed around a PA for like maybe a few times, but not a whole lot.
So not much. It was just like, here you go.
Yeah, and then being thrown in the OR was, being thrown to the wolves. I mean, there was nobody to really teach me, you know, and learning just all the instruments. I'd be like, can I get the cotton ball holder thing?
The little doo-woppy thing right there, the one right there.
And working for a very reputable surgeon.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he'd be like, it's the pusher. cool, can I get the push-up plate? Again, being humble.
You gotta work with someone who's willing to train you as the inaugural NP in the OR. Okay. Do you feel like the market is saturated right now? This is the hot topic these days.
I think there is still room for APPs in the medical field. It's just, for me, especially if you're working in the hospital, what that administration sees your role as and how they value you. I think it's very easy. I think APPs could easily be replaced in certain situations.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you have a vast set of skills and an extensive resume where you have lots of experience, you will always be needed and wanted somewhere.
Well, I think what can be said about you, I've heard one of our colleagues say, and I love this because it so defines you, is Kelli always lands on her feet.
Oh, yeah.
Always lands on her feet. Because I'm I watch you go from this to that and this to that. I'm like, ooh, what if she doesn't like that? What if there's not any openings here? What if there's that? I mean, and then you quit everything and go to work locums. You're banking on that there's going to be a need for things. And that makes me super nervous. But you always land on your feet. And and you're right. You have amassed such a resume of experience that you can do whatever you want to do.
I think in life, it's all about building your resume. A resume maybe for your career, maybe a resume for your personal, but you have to have different experiences. You have to challenge yourself and you have to be uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, that's when you grow. And I can tell you, I was really uncomfortable in the OR. I was really uncomfortable in interventional radiology. It's a whole different set of skills, but I grew from it and I learned from it and I know better. And so I just take that with me. Yeah,
I like that. I also think I want you to, because I think you are so good at marketing yourself. I mean, you said at the beginning, know your worth. You are very confident in that, and you can sell yourself better than anybody I know. Do you have tips for people who are in that new grad, zero experience, having a difficult time finding a job, how to market themselves?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
It's a tough spot to be in.
That is a really good question. Again, it's going to be, you have to be personable in this field. Whether you're a nurse, whether you're a nurse practitioner, whether you're a physician, you have to have a personality and you have to be able to network and try and to connect with people some way, somehow, so they remember you. And some people remember me for good.
So have you found all of your jobs through job postings or leaderboards, or have you cold called people or walked up to people and said, what do you have?
So in the beginning, when I've had lots of different jobs, I never really left a job without having something lined up or really feeling like I had something lined up.
Okay.
And I took different jobs for different reasons. When I was working cardiology, it was a lot of call at night. When you're going to take a job and you're looking at that offer, you really need to look at the fine print, to make that extra money or to make that extra call pay.
What are you sacrificing, right? It comes with a price tag.
You might be on call 3 or 4 nights a week for a practice that has 20 different physicians, which means they could have over 7,000 patients that can call you at any time in the middle of the night. And you might be taking call for all the patients who have their at-home heart monitors on, and that company is calling you to tell you that Jane Smith just had a 5-beat run of VTAC in Clayton, Georgia. And you're like, okay, well, maybe we should call her. Is she alive? I don't know what to say. So always know and, what exactly you're signing up for. So now when I took locums, I didn't know. I knew interventional radiology wasn't working out, and I didn't know what my next move was going to be. And so it really was just a leap of faith, and it's kind of worked out for me.
And through are you with one locums company or multiple?
Yeah, so I work locum tenens. That's my current company that I'm with. But you still have to stay on them, and you have to touch base with your recruiter. Hey, I'm finishing up this assignment. Hey, what do you have next? Is there anything around here? Now, for me, I'm kind of pigeonholed in the fact that I have 3 kids. So I'm not going to take an assignment. I'm not going to take an assignment in Wisconsin for 7 days on, 7 days off.
Right.
Because I just don't want to be away that long. So I am trying to stay more in that local market. But right now I work at a hospital in Noonan, and I go down there and I'll do a couple days in a row and spend a couple nights in a hotel and then come home. But I try and be home as much as possible.
Sure. How long are most of your contracts?
So several that I have a hospital we both work at, has been kind of ongoing. Their group has just kind of been in flux for a little while with COVID surges, providers leaving, providers going on maternity leave, those kind of things. So I don't necessarily... When I do my shifts, it tends to be like in 4-week blocks or 6-week blocks. And so I usually...
So you're not contracted for a certain number of shifts for a certain, like 3 months or something like that?
No, it's just a little bit different than nursing.
Okay.
It's not like you're saying...
A 13-week contract,
right.
48 hours a week.
No,
Gotcha.
It's not like that at all. In fact, it's a little more autonomous because a lot of these hospitals really just need help. And so a lot of times I can say... These are the dates I'm available. And they'll come back and say, okay, we'll use you for these dates. So again, I get to make my own schedule. I decide when I work, when I don't work, where I work, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And that's more valuable to me than maybe not knowing what's coming up in 5 months or 6 months.
Right.
There's always a trade-off. You can have security and financial stability, or you can have flexibility and be more independent. You know, there's always a trade-off. You are never going to get a perfect scenario.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting, the evolution of your career. As you said, when you were single, you worked so many hours. And now that you've got young kids and you want to enjoy them, you're taking, 3 weeks off for the month of December?
Not coming back to the 23rd.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
the flexibility of being able to say, yes, I want to come a lot this week and just, stack all my shifts and make all my money here so that I can take this much off.
Yes.
That is very appealing.
It has been wonderful for our family. So, I've been in jobs where it was, you only have 2.5 weeks vacation. And I was like for the whole year? Or this month?
Yeah.
And
that's not
so
really vacation.
that's not something that appeals to me right now. And I don't know if I'll always do traditional nurse practitioner role, working in a hospital. I have other plans, I'd like to teach at some point.
Okay.
I'll be getting older, so
Time to sit down and
I think I have done a little bit of telemedicine with COVID and everything, working for a clinic one of my friends runs. So COVID's provided a lot of telehealth opportunities, and I think there is definitely a need there that APPs can serve.
Yeah.
Doing telemedicine, which provides so much flexibility in working from home or picking your hours or those kind of things. So the NP world may not look like the traditional NP world that we've known for the past 15 years. It will evolve and change, but there's going to be a need. I mean, just with the general population aging, there's going to be a need.
I say that too. I mean, if you look at the U.S., Bureau of Labor Statistics, one of the fastest growing fields is PAs and NPs, and it always has been, because there is, whether physicians like it or not, a massive shortage that will grow over time of physicians, and APPs can kind of fill some of those holes, particularly in rural areas. So I think that even though the market is full and competitive right now, I still think there is a place for people if your intentions are pure. If you're doing this to make more money, you're probably going to be out of luck. You're not going to make more money. You're going to have a hard time finding a job. But if you're looking to advance your practice and interact with patients in a different manner, you should still go to school. Absolutely. People ask me this all the time. I just did a consultation last week where the NP said, I'm not sure I should go back to school because everyone's telling me it's saturated. If you want to go back to school for the right reasons, go back to school. There will be something for you. Know your worth, market yourself, and you can find a bazillion jobs. So along that lines, do you think you'll get your DNP?
I know. I think I'm good. We have a mutual colleague that just graduated with her DNP.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. I don't know a lot about the DNP program.
What I hear most people saying when they do it is that they just want that terminal degree. They want the ability to say, I am done.
Yeah.
No one is ever going to tell me I have to go back to school. And
Kudos to y'all out there that are doing this, that are married with kids and full-time jobs and going to school.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me, and I was doing it in my early 20s and had no responsibility. I mean, kudos to y'all for pushing through, and one day you will look back and you'll be like, how did I survive that? And you'll just get through it, and it'll be a memory in the past. But kudos to y'all that are out there managing families, jobs, going to graduate school. My hat's off to you.
Yeah.
Could not do it. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do it in the role of a mom.
Could
and
not
if you're
imagine.
working, it's a real challenge.
Yeah.
It is. But where there's a will, there's a way, right?
That's right.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming and sharing all of your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having
you have
me.
such fabulous experience, and let's just end with your motto to encourage all the people in all the land.
Yes. Know your self-worth, know your value, and know how to market yourself. And you will be successful.
You will always land on your feet.
That's
'cause
right.
She always does.
Especially if you have like a uterus, I think. I feel like that.
It's a downside, right?
I feel like that makes you a target.
That was a lot, but that's good.
Is that, am I good? Okay.
You're doing great. You're
Most patient man ever who probably should have fired me 15 times. At least.
Turn, wrong part of the body.
That's not. He's like, left, right. You're left, my right. Where are we? Like, this cannot be this difficult. Why is this so hard?
Oh, I would.
Even though people don't think I'm always paying attention, I do listen. I am listening to you.
I make you look good. I'm here to make you look good. That's my role.
This is perfect.
Right? We don't talk about this outside of here. What happens here stays here.
Sometimes I get in trouble.